Most of our research is on tick-borne diseases, and that's been a strength at Oklahoma State in the veterinary college and all over campus for the last 50 years or more. I mean, Oklahoma State's always been a leader in tick-borne disease research. And so I'd collaborated with folks here before I joined the faculty, but my research focuses on ehrlichiosis, both in dogs and in people. And ehrlichiosis is really the most important tick-borne disease, the most common tick-borne disease in dogs and people in the southern U.S. And then we also do some work on borreliosis, on Lyme disease, and then other agents of a Lyme-like illness in the south that we haven't identified yet. Well, I hope we graduate competent, practice-ready veterinarians at Oklahoma State, and so I'm very confident of their clinical parasitology skills when they graduate. But I also hope that in my class they'll become excited about the science and the wonder of parasitology. They're incredible systems. You know, parasites are metazoans, they're higher animals, and so you have animals that are living in and on other animals. And it's a great example of ecological niche. It's a great example of coevolution. So there's a lot of intrinsic scientific beauty to the study of parasitology, and they pick up on that as well, and they a lot of them share my excitement about veterinary parasitology because of that, just the cool factor. Parasite systems are really interesting, they're really cool. For my research effort, there is no better institution than Oklahoma State for what I do. I work on tick-borne diseases of people and animals. And here, you know, at the veterinary college alone, there's a large critical mass of faculty that are excited about tick-borne diseases, that have spent their careers on tick-borne diseases. And so I couldn't ask for better colleagues and friends to share that passion with. From my veterinary students, for the teaching perspective, you know, I want students that are passionate about the profession, and I have that. The students here are second to none. They're amazingly motivated. You know, we always joke that the problem with veterinary students is they show up early, they stay late, and they ask too many questions. They're incredibly engaged in the material, and so it makes teaching a snap. So tick-borne diseases are incredibly important in Oklahoma. Ticks are important in Oklahoma, and I think most people that live here recognize that. There's actually publications that show that ticks are more common on dogs in Oklahoma than in any other state in the United States. So when people in Oklahoma have the impression that they're almost under siege from ticks, that's accurate. We have more ticks than anywhere else. And then tick-borne diseases are important, and I think sometimes that gets lost in Oklahoma and throughout the South because Lyme disease receives a lot of the press. We don't have evidence of active transmission of Lyme disease in the state of Oklahoma to people or to dogs. There may be some low-level transmission, but it's not been documented, and we just don't have a lot of evidence that Lyme disease is here. But we certainly have no shortage of tick-borne diseases. We often have more cases of Rocky Mountain spotted fever than anywhere else in the country. We have a lot of human ehrlichiosis. We have incredibly high rates of ehrlichial transmission to dogs. And that's true really throughout the eastern part of the state and then extending into Arkansas. And so tick-borne diseases matter for the state. They matter also for cattle production. We have anaplasmosis in cattle transmitted by ticks. And just the ticks themselves are a burden for the people and for the animals of Oklahoma. And so by contributing to the research and better understanding how the diseases are transmitted, how the ticks and the wildlife create a risk of infection to people and pets, but then also how to control those infections, recognize them early, treat them early, and hopefully with tick control prevent them from occurring to begin with.